My name is Raleigh. I work on the member services team here at the Mechanical Licensing Collective, and I'm joined by my colleague Hayden. We both work on the member services team. This is the self-administered webinar, so thank you guys for joining us. And we are going to jump into the slide deck. It's really only one slide, but we're going to talk a little bit about what the MLC does and what the MLC does not do. Perfect. So I'm going to start off and get us into what the MLC does. And the MLC establishes and maintains a public database of musical works ownership information. We also administer a new blanket license covering mechanical rights available to eligible digital audio services operating within the United States. We receive and match sound recording usage reporting data from digital audio services within the MLC's musical works ownership data. And lastly, we collect and distribute U.S. digital audio mechanical royalties to music publishers, administrators, foreign CMOs, self-administered songwriters, composers, and lyricists. And I'm going to pass it off to Hayden to talk a little bit about what the MLC does not do.
Thank you, Raleigh. So the MLC does not administer performance rights for musical works or collect performance royalties. We also do not administer digital performance rights for sound recordings or collect digital performance royalties. We do not administer mechanical rights or collect mechanical royalties for physical products such as CDs, vinyl records. And we do not administer any licenses or collect any royalties related to the use of musical works in audiovisual products. And lastly, we do not administer licenses or collect royalties for the use of musical works outside of the United States. And then some notes here is we do not replace PROs such as BMI, ASCAP, or CSAC, and we do not replace Sound Exchange. And then, yeah, we'll move on to the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you, Hayden. As a quick reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box, not the chat box. That will just allow us to keep track of them. Our first question here is saying, I registered with ASCAP as both a songwriter and publisher. Should I register as both with MLC or just a self-administrating songwriter? That's a great question. So first, let's break down. ASCAP is a PRO, so they're collecting performance royalties. And the difference between performance royalties and mechanical royalties is that when you're registering for performance royalties, they are actually collecting on both a writer share and a publisher share. Whereas with mechanical royalties, you're only collecting on the publishing share. And as signing up with ASCAP, you're signing up as both a songwriter and a publisher, so you can collect both of those royalties. With the MLC, if you are a self-administrating songwriter, you technically are your own publisher. So you're going to be signing up as a publisher, and then you're essentially paying yourself as the songwriter. So when you're signing up with the MLC, if you have a publishing entity registered with ASCAP or any other PRO, you want to register the same way under that same publishing entity with the MLC. So your member name at the MLC should match whatever your publishing entity is at ASCAP or your PRO.
Perfect. And Lauren here is kind of asking a similar question. Registered with ASCAP as a publisher and a writer. With the MLC, yeah, you will be registering as your publisher, collecting those writer shares. So you do not need both a publisher and writer account. So you'll register that with your publishing entity. So if you need help cleaning anything up, definitely reach out to our support team and we can help you there.
Our next question is asking if we recommend still registering with the Harry Fox. So Harry Fox is the Harry Fox agency. and they previously collected the royalties that the MLC collects. They still offer other services such as, direct licensing for mechanical licenses, and they also offer to do physical mechanical royalties, which is something that we do not collect on. So I would just recommend taking some time to look more into what services Harry Fox offers and see if you need those additional services. Again, we don't collect on anything physical, and we don't give out any kind of direct mechanical license. We're only giving the blanket license to the streaming services, the DSPs. So yeah, again, I would just recommend kind of checking out what their additional services are and see if you need those on top of what the MLC is collecting.
Jose Manuel is asking, what is the royalty rate for Spotify? Essentially here. So the royalty rates are determined by the U.S. Library of Congress Copyright Royalty Board, the CRB we say for short, through rate proceedings that happen every 5 years. There's a breakout too. When you look at your sales reports, you can see what Spotify is paying exactly. It gets a little complicated because it is based on subscription type, and based on the period, the rate period as well. That is different every period that I guess the Copyright Royalty Board determines. But yeah, so if you do have any questions to also reach out to support, and we can direct you to where you can find that information about Spotify in your sales reports.
Our next question here says, I'm a pub administrator. Am I able to create one business account and admin registrations for multiple songwriters? That's a great question, and it really comes down to if you are wanting all work registrations to be paid out to one payee, or if you're wanting to pay out your songwriters individually and they all have separate banking information. So if you're just wanting to create one account and you collect all the money under that one account and then you pay out your songwriters from there, then yes, we can create one account and you can register on behalf of multiple songwriters. If you're wanting to pay out your songwriters individually, and again, they have different banking information, then you would want to create separate members for all of those individual songwriters so that you can enter in the different banking and tax information per songwriter.
What happens when an independent artist who owns 100% of their songs finds another company has claimed their songs on the MLC public search? So this would be the conflict over claim process. So if you do happen to notice that this is happening on your works where you don't recognize the publishing entity that is claiming on your behalf, definitely reach out to our support and provide them with these song codes, what your share percentage should be, and then we can initiate outreach based on that. And as far as royalties that were maybe accrued during this period, that could be discussed during the outreach period.
Our next question says, how long does it take for the process of matching a song with the writer of the song? So I believe that this person is clarifying matching the sound recordings to the original work. So when you're going through the registration process, you're going to first register the individual work, the musical work, the composition, as we say. And then on top of that, once that song is registered, it goes through a matching process where we take all of the usage data from the streaming services, and those are all the sound recordings, and we match those sound recordings to the actual composition. So for every one musical work, there could be multiple hundreds, thousands of sound recordings for that individual work. And that matching process, there's kind of two parts to it. So the first one is just our automated process where we do on the back end kind of where we take the information and we try and match the sound recordings to your original composition. Sometimes there are musical sound recordings that don't get matched. We just maybe don't catch them in the automated process. And that's where a matching tool comes in. This is a way for our members to be able to manually suggest sound recordings that didn't get caught in the automated process. And you basically make that suggestion to us of, hey, I'm finding this sound recording in the matching tool that's not already matched to my musical work, and I want to match these two. Once you submit that, it'll go through our matching team and they will review it. This can take a couple of weeks, just depending on how many sound recordings there actually are to look at that you've maybe suggested. So I would say a couple of weeks is usually a good gauge of how much time it takes. But again, just is kind of a case by case basis. Someone else is asking if this recording will be shared to review after. I'm not sure if this specific webinar will be shared or not. They don't always do every single one, but that being said, definitely check out our YouTube page because there are a lot of similar past webinars that will be on that page. So if it's not this specific one, then it will be something that's very similar. Hayden, you're on mute.
Thank you. Didn't want to hear people or have them hear me typing. So how do we set up a songwriter who has 5 publishing entities? So this could be done several different ways. You could have it to where all 5 are roped under your individual account so that you can access each and register works as under their different designated publishing entities. Definitely recommend contacting support so that they can help you set this up because this can be handled several different ways. So yeah, definitely contact support. Thank you.
This says, if I signed up as a self-administered songwriter in the MLC, should I go back and change my membership to publisher? So if you signed up as a songwriter and maybe you have a publishing entity that's set up through your PRO, you can definitely update that member name. And you can do that by reaching out to our support team. Just shoot them an email, chat. You can jump on the phone as well and let them know that you'd like to update the name. You don't need to resubmit your member or anything like that. We can just update the name. And then I'd say additionally, if you have a publishing IPI, that you can add that as well. And that will allow you to use the bulk upload template instead of the individual work registration tool. So if you have a lot of songs to register, that's a good way to use that tool. And by adding the IPI, you can use that.
We have a question here about registering public domain cover songs. And yes, you can register public domain cover songs, but you should only be registering them if the work you have created is its own unique arrangement of that public domain song.
Cool. That is all of the questions that we have. I'll give everybody a couple more seconds if you want to throw any other questions into the Q&A box. Let us know and we can look those over. And someone just wants to throw a note out there for others. Even though I don't have an actual publishing entity, BMI assigns an IPI number and you can use this for a bulk upload. That is a great call out. It doesn't have to be an actual publishing entity, an LLC, to sign up as a publisher with the MLC. So if you sign up under your BMI account or ASCAP or any other PRO as a publisher. It doesn't have to be like a registered LLC. It's just that entity name.
We have a question here. If you are a member of Songtrust, all claiming should be done through Songtrust. So this depends on whatever agreement you have with Songtrust. In some cases, yeah, it might be a full agreement in which they're administering all your works and registering all your works for you. However, if you have a partial agreement with them, you can set it up to where you can register works for yourself, and then Songtrust is registering works as well that they're supposed to administer.
Awesome. I'm going to do one last call for any other additional questions. I'm not seeing any at the moment, but if you guys think of anything else once this webinar is over, feel free to reach out to our support team. I believe that that information is in the chat box, so you can call them, email them, chat them. You can talk to a real life human and they will answer any of your specific questions that you may have regarding either this webinar or maybe your specific portal account. And yeah, it looks like those are all of our questions. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We will be back next month, and feel free to check that one out as well. But we appreciate you guys being with us today, and we'll catch you at the next one.